So, when in A New Hope, when Grand Moff Tarkin blew up that planet when he was looking for the Rebel base, and it turns out the Rebel base wasn't there, was he looking for the Rebels in Alderaan places?
Wow, that's...
Yeah.
That was terrible.
Yep. Hello, everybody.
Yeah, welcome everybody to another episode of Beer, Pizza and a Movie, where this week we have our first ever guest on the show. So just quickly, I am Harry. I'm awesome. Ross.
I'm Ross. I'm also awesome. Yes, I'm excited to introduce our guest, Mr. Paul Kelly.
Hello, I'm Paul Kelly, and I am awesome.
I feel
you said that as if we weren't.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that I am awesome.
Fair enough.
Okay.
I suppose we did that too.
Should we put it to a public vote?
To a public vote. Yeah, tweet at us.
Whoisawesome.com.
Yeah.
Oh, I should buy that.
Yeah. Alright, so Harry, what are we watching today?
Well, today Paul Kelly has brought a movie. Paul Kelly, what have you brought?
Star Wars: The Force Awakens.
It's a good shout.
Yep, it just came out on DVD. I'm excited. This will be my third time seeing it, and I'm excited for that.
This will be my fourth time seeing it.
It'll be my fifth time, actually.
Oh God!
Wow.
Oh, I thought I was the nerd.
Incremental. Alright,
So did you see it 4 times in the cinema?
Yes. Most of them, I was like, I want to go see Star Wars again, and the other one was my niece wanted to go see Star Wars, and I was like, I'll take you.
Yay, Star Wars!
So, when we're watching this now, are you just going to be reciting everything?
No. There's every time I've watched it, I've picked up a new kind of. Oh, that was interesting. I didn't realise that.
Oh, that's good.
So there is.
So after 4 times watching it,
It's
still
definitely
different
got
things.
rewatchability. Maybe
I like
I'm
that.
just very poor attention span and don't notice and need to watch it 5 times.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Luke. Ooh.
Yeah, that sounds good. But yes, before we start talking about our Star Wars
I've got,
stuff, we've got some trailers to watch.
Well, before that, even I've got a few little bits of news.
Oh, we got news.
Oh.
Ooh, before
News.
trailers, we have news.
We haven't done this before.
Film news.
There we go. Our first theme tune.
Yay!
Do you mind if I use that again in every episode from now on?
Yeah.
Good. All
Copyright
right.
free, royalty free.
Yes. So, film news. 4 new Avatar sequels.
Yes, I heard about that.
Wow. What?
That's what James Cameron said.
Pocahontas 2 when she goes to London.
Yep.
Um,
Dances with More Wolves.
Okay.
The Other Smurfs. Revenge of Gargamel. And I can't think of another one.
It's the one where James Cameron spends 2 hours trying to pick his avatar for Twitter.
Yeah, gotta be.
Yes.
So yeah, they're dropping, I think it's supposed to be 2017, 18, I think then 20 and 21.
Wow. Can't
So that's
wait.
next year, I think. If I've got that right, I could very well be wrong.
Okay, did you go and see Avatar when it came out? When it was the first big 3D blockbuster amazing?
I don't actually remember.
No, neither do I. I was just going to
I
say...
genuinely don't remember if I saw it in cinema or not.
Yeah.
I saw it in the IMAX in Manchester, which is not the biggest of the... It's one of those normal IMAXs. It's not one of the ones that you can't actually see the end.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really good, but I immediately was a bit... Yeah, it's really good. It's not the most amazing thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
This 3D is really interesting. I'm really liking it. I'm sure this is going to have loads of good films are going to come out of this new technology, but it was alright. I remember reading in forums that people were finding the world so beautiful and amazing that they were getting really clinically depressed because they weren't in the Avatar world, and people were suggesting just go and watch Avatar again, you'll be fine.
Wow.
Wow, that does not sound like a solution.
Yeah. But I wasn't that bowled over myself. But Avatar 2, they can only get, they've learned all the 3D tricks of the trade now.
Yeah.
Well, it's just the thing, because Avatar was... Was it defining of its time? Like, it was not the first 3D film by a long stretch, but it was just such a big, immersive film.
It was the one that did 3D the best, I suppose.
It
at the time.
relaunched the 3D.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did.
But,
I don't say
I have
gimmick,
the
but-
same thing.
Yeah,
I can't remember if I saw it at the cinema, and it really hasn't had any impact on cinema. How long has it been out? 6 years?
2009.
Yes, 7 years. And that is... and in that time, what impact has it had? Not a lot.
The question you've got to ask is how well did the, DVD and Blu-ray sales do? Compared, some films are films you go and watch it in the cinema, and as soon as it comes out on DVD, everybody gets it, or everybody's got it somehow, and they've seen it again and again and again. The amount of people who went to see Avatar, broke all the records, but did they then care 6 months later when there was 20 films out a week?
The question you really have to ask is, can you name a character?
No.
Jake Sully, played by Sam Worthington.
Oh, that sounds familiar. You ruined this. That was good. That was a good point.
Doctor
John Smith, but that's from
whoever Neil Patrick Harris played in Smurfs.
That's another.
Kevin Costner.
That's another bit of news actually.
I don't think Neil Patrick Harris played Kevin Costner in Smurfs.
What do you guys think of Neil Patrick Harris playing?
Anybody, he's amazing. Doesn't matter.
Count Olaf in A Series of Unfortunate Events.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
He is amazing.
He's going to be playing that in a Netflix TV show. They're doing a Netflix TV show.
Neil Patrick Harris can do anything.
Well, if you've seen Dr. Horrible's Single Block,
amazing.
He can do dastardly and hilarious quite well.
And also, I laughed at that. I cried at that. I cannot recommend Dr. Horrible's Sing-Along Blog enough. It's amazing.
Count Olaf is dastardly and funny and inherently rubbish and bad and amazing at the same time. Yeah. I thought Jim Carrey did a really good job.
Yeah, me too.
And I read the books before I saw the film, and I kind of was like, yeah, this is kind of how I imagined it. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting to see how it's done in a different way.
Yeah.
I'm interested. Netflix TV show as well. That's a seal of quality, if ever I've known one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Netflix seem to be putting all their money into making good TV rather than
advertising and making rubbish. Or spending loads of money on CGI or celebrity or anything like that. They're just making good TV, and that's good, I suppose.
One thing I do like about Netflix is how they don't necessarily need a banker, like a big name star, to carry their series. They get, Neil Patrick Harris is a brilliant actor and good star to have any show, but they don't rely on that for their new shows. They just have interesting shows.
It'd be interesting to see in the adverts and stuff if it's Netflix new show, A Series of Unfortunate Events, or if it's Netflix with Neil Patrick Harris as. It'd be interesting how they go and see if they do try and bank it on star power or not. Because I love the guy and that will sell it for me, but the fact it's on Netflix might do as well. I will definitely give that one a watch because that sounds really interesting. Most of what Netflix does at the moment I'm less interested in. Your prison dramas and your political dramas I'm not particularly excited by. Obviously Daredevil and Jessica Jones were excellent. We've talked about those in the past and we enjoyed those. So Netflix, Neil Patrick Harris, good combo.
So next Spider-Man film, which is coming out next year.
Actually made by people who know what they're doing this time, I think.
Hopefully.
Well, made by Fox, but Marvel are going to control it.
So Robert Downey Jr. is confirmed for it. He's in it.
Interesting.
As Spider-Man.
As Spider-Man. And Tom Holland, whoever the new Spider-Man is, he's going to be playing Iron Man.
Yep. You heard it here first. Exclusive.
Is it Tom Holland? Yeah, it is Tom Holland. Yeah.
That sounds right.
Sorry, I was getting him and Asa Buttonfield mixed up. What do you think of Michael Keaton as the new villain?
Vulture, isn't he?
That's where the strong rumours have been.
Yes, I think that could be quite good.
Until this morning when Michael Keaton said, no, I'm not in it.
Oh.
Well, maybe that was
which is
super villain-esque red herring.
So he'll turn up in the third act and just be like, boom, I'm here, told you.
Yeah.
Or didn't tell you.
I think it's quite interesting that he went from Batman to Birdman to playing Vulture. I really hope that that's what happens.
Kind of a logical progression.
Exactly. I hope that's what happens. If he's not in it, that'd be a shame. I think Michael Keaton is a good actor.
He's going to be Man.
He's going to be Man. No, Man-Bat. That's going to be the next baddie in Ben Affleck's Batman movie. Man-Bat. Are you guys familiar with Man-Bat? He's a man who's a bat. Think like werewolf, but a bat instead of a wolf. That's Man-Bat, and he's been a bad guy for Batman. And that should totally be Michael Keaton.
As for whether that film will be good and whether Michael Keaton will be good, I am a refreshing new flavour in this podcast because I don't really go in too much for comic book movies and kind of that kind of comic book action. I like them when I watch them, but I'm not invested in the universe. I don't read the comic books, and I don't know much about the whole series. That's the most I know about Spider-Man is the first Spider-Man film with Tobey Maguire in, and I didn't really watch any of the others.
Not even the second one.
I can't remember. I might have done.
Dr. Octavius with all the legs.
Oh, is it the one with James Franco in?
He was in all three, wasn't he?
Yeah.
As Goblin, as possibly the Green Goblin, then Hobgoblin, and then a good guy version of Hobgoblin. It was his storyline.
So I'll be your layman's take on the
comic book universe. Oh, that's interesting.
Which means he's
like Spider-Man is a guy who can just like get webs like shoot out of his wrists.
Okay.
And he can like walk up walls.
Unless, of course, you're talking about a different Spider-Man who can't shoot things out of his wrists and has mechanical web shooters, which is what the original was.
Really?
And it's what it's going to be in this new film as well.
Yep. One of Spider-Man's I like the organic web shooters. I like both actually, but one thing that the movies haven't done much of is referencing the Spidey sense, which was a major part of his power, his ability to sense danger and his ability to...
They did that in the newer movies, the Andrew Garfield ones.
Not very well. I think that they could do with... I think actually Daredevil with Ben Affleck did Daredevil's ability to sense what's going on around him quite well. That was about the only good thing about that movie. Mm-hmm. I think Spider-Man's Spidey sense is possibly the most important power he has. That's what gives him his ridiculous reflexes, his ability to swing on webs by not even looking where he's going. He can hit things completely flawlessly because of his Spidey sense, and that's vital. Like if you were to pick a superpower, you can't just pick a single superpower. You have to have, if you're going to have web slinging, you need the Spidey sense to be able to use web slinging. Otherwise, you'll just miss all the time.
Do spiders have Spidey sense?
Well, that's where I don't know.
I'm pretty sure they don't.
I think spiders, much like many smaller creatures, have they experience time on a much more expanded scale than we do. So a fly, for every 1 second we experience, a housefly experience 8 seconds or something like that. So the reason flies look like they've got such amazing reactions is because they're just like, oh right, what's going on there? A big swatter. I'm going to move out of the way.
They have simpler but faster firing nervous systems.
So if spiders are the same, then it might look like they've got super quick reactions, and maybe that's what you would call Spidey sense.
Yeah, I mean, also you could say beetle sense or fly sense or whatever, because all small insects have a similar thing going on.
True.
But he's Spider-Man, not Fly-Man, or Man-Spider. Which I'd love to tell you that Man-Spider was a baddie for Spider-Man, but I don't think he was.
No.
However, Dr. Octopus has 8 limbs.
Well done.
Like
good counting.
A spider does.
Oh wow! You tell something there.
Yeah. Also, he's called Otto Octavius, so of course he was going to be Octopus.
Well, yeah, it's like the villain in Fantastic Four, Doctor Doom.
Yes.
You're not going to work with that guy.
Yeah, his name was Victor Von Doom.
You're not going to do science experiments with somebody called Victor Von Doom.
On locum for the local infirmary.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's... Austin Powers had Dr. Evil from the beginning, and it was basically, just a take on that whole thing.
I didn't spend 6 years at Evil Medical School. There's
a show I've been watching, Mr. Robot. And
it's very good.
Yeah, it's all like from his point of view, and so rather than coming up with a company name for the company he's working for, he just calls them Evil Corp. And it's weird, like everything in the show, like the logo is Evil Corp, everywhere written down, it's always Evil Corp, and it's really well done. I like it.
Brilliant, I love it.
Okay, so one more piece of news, and then we'll actually get into talking about Star Wars. It's a bit of a segue as well.
Also, trailers. Sure.
We have the trailers. Sorry, we have this person who has been cast as a young Han Solo, Alden. Somebody else say that.
Aaron Reich.
Interesting. What has he been in up until now?
He's going to have to say his name out loud, isn't it, at some point, so the internet can say it.
He was born in 1989. I'm assuming he already has.
He was in Hail Caesar.
Okay,
I'm definitely going to go watch that.
Which,
we might do that next week. We haven't decided.
I think we may as well. We've got this.
Now that we've mentioned it, we can find out who this... Oh no, it's a Star Wars reference now. Then we're going to go see Hail Caesar as a way of referencing Star Wars. I think maybe we should not go see Hail Caesar so we can move away from Star Wars.
No, I just like to give context to the film news. This guy's got cast in a big part. I'd like to know who he is.
That's a fair point. I still want to see Hail Caesar, so maybe next week.
Yeah. So
has he been in anything other than Hail Caesar that I might have seen?
He did loads of things, but I haven't heard of much. He's maybe one episode of Supernatural years and years ago. But,
he was in Blue Jasmine, which won an Oscar a couple of years ago for screenwriting for Woody Allen.
Interesting.
Very nice.
Now,
he looks okay. He doesn't look like Harrison Ford, which is a good thing. Because if they pick somebody based just on looks, then he probably wouldn't have the personality.
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited for Rogue One, as we talked about last week, but I'm not excited for the Han Solo movie.
No.
Because I don't think we need one. He's like the Joker. He doesn't need an origin story. That being said, Star Wars has so much power over me, I will go see it anyway.
Yeah.
But I'm not excited for it.
Yeah.
It's
I think you say that. I would probably have said the same thing until I saw the trailer for Rouge One. Because I saw that trailer, I was like, oh, this looks amazing. And before it, I thought, yeah, this is going to be a cheap, they're not going to put much effort, but it looks so good.
Yeah.
So when you see the trailer for the Han Solo origin, you probably go,
yeah, I'm willing to be proved wrong. I'd love to go see the Han Solo movie and find out I really enjoy it, and that would be great. But I've not got high hopes for it at the moment. Manage expectations. I think that might be why I enjoyed 7. I managed my expectations a bit. I wasn't expecting Force Awakens to be as good as I then thought it was. I was kind of going in thinking maybe this will be as bad as Phantom Menace, and I was excited to find out it wasn't. But if I'd gone in thinking this is going to be great, I might have ended up disappointed. In the end, I probably wouldn't, because I really did think it was great. But I'm intrigued. I'll keep following the interesting stuff about the Solo movie and Rogue One and see where we go with it.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so now I'm going to do a trailer watch segment again. And I'm not going to read them out first because I want to surprise Ross.
Apparently there's a surprising trailer.
I think I'm going to be surprised for you. It's not like a big out there trailer, it's just...
Ross Burton home movies.
Yeah.
Oh God, no! I know. I've seen some of those. They're really bad. I'm racking my brains now to think what it might be. Is it based? Discworld? No. Shannara? No, they're already doing one of those. There's another Lord of the Rings prequel based on the Silmarillion. Oh my God! Is they making a Silmarillion film?
That would be action-packed. Any film director.
That would be the worst film ever. Don't make the Silmarillion.
Especially now, you need to wait for the Hobbit.
Blade Runner 2. Is it Blade Runner 2?
Right,
I don't think there'll be a trailer for that yet.
I don't even want to see that.
We're going to take a quick break and
watch some trailers.
Watch some trailers, and then we'll get back to you in approximately 0 seconds from now. We're back.
Hello, Magnificent 7.
Yeah.
Now, I was kind of all poised to say that they shouldn't remake a classic movie, but Magnificent 7 was a remake.
Yeah.
So
remake of a remake.
Yeah. Well, no, it was a remake of The Seven Samurai.
Well, yeah.
Which was a remake of?
I don't think it was.
Yojimbo.
Oh, there you go. Well, thank you very much.
I'm not having you back. You make us look bad.
Yeah. All right, that's cool. Haven't seen Seven Samurai, but Magnificent 7 was excellent. This looks like quite a good modern retelling, the kind of film that could benefit from a remake now.
I'm
excited.
Don't want to link everything together too neatly, but the Magnificent 7 and Seven Samurai are massive inspirations for Star Wars.
Yes, absolutely. Star Wars was, of course, based on The Hidden Fortress by Akira Kurosawa, which was itself based on all of the fairy tales. Knight saves princess in castle. That is the plot of A New Hope. It's got so many good tropes in it. Great. Yes, Magnificent 7. I'm quite excited. It looks like a good cast as well, which seems cool.
It's made by the guy who made Training Day.
Don't think I ever saw that.
Training Day is the one where Denzel Washington is a corrupt LA police officer, and he's taking Ethan Hawke is like the rookie detective. He's like taking him out to show him the ropes, but actually he's like showing him the horrible seedy world that he lives in. And he's like, so his point is, if you want to survive in this world, you've got to get your hands dirty and all that. And Ethan Hawke's like, no. But it all culminates really.
That sounds quite good. I might have to check that out as well. Right, yeah. In prep for seeing Magnificent 7, I might have to check out that as well.
Yes, Magnificent 7. That's good. I'm looking forward to it.
That's good. What was the other one we watched?
Jason Bourne.
Jason Bourne. Paul Kelly, run with this one.
Okay, so I love the Jason Bourne series. I've read the 3 Robert Ludlum Jason Bourne books, but after he died...
And those are the first 3 films, aren't they?
Not quite. There's elements of them in the films.
Okay.
They've kind of run with it in their own... to make it better for movies, really. But after Robert Ludlum died in the 90s, someone else took up the mantle and started writing. There's like 20 Jason Bourne books now. I've not read any of them, but the first film I thought was just a cracking action spy kind of not too over the top actiony. Like all the fight scenes are like how a spy would fight. It's not.
I really enjoyed the first one.
It also came out between when Pierce Brosnan was James Bond and Daniel Craig was James Bond, and it clearly inspired the Craig Bond
Well,
style.
that's what I love the Jason Bourne movies. I don't know them as well as Paul does, but I really enjoyed them. But then when Daniel Craig came out, he was Daniel Craig as Bond. He wasn't really James Bond. He was Jason Bourne. Which I kind of lament the loss of actual James Bond movies.
I really look, and the thing they tried to get in James Bond, the thing they tried to nick off Bourne was the I'm somehow troubled, but I'm just amazing at all this espionage. Whereas Jason Bourne is like he's trying his hardest. He's like, no, I'm a good person now. You've turned me into this fighting, killing machine, and it's really hard. But if you fuck with me, if you bleed with me, I'm gonna use my skills, and that seems to be in the films went on. The Ultimatum film is like find out they always like a good origin, don't they? Like find out actually who he is and where he came from, and whether he can then let go. Obviously, they then brought out Bourne Legacy, which is
doesn't involve.
I think they had
at all.
They had another film to the contract, but Paul Greengrass was doing other things, and he was the good director of the Bourne movies. And Matt Damon was like, I'm not doing it unless Paul Greengrass is doing it. So they just made a other film.
Yeah. Also, wasn't that was Jeremy Renner Hawkeye as the main guy, but wasn't it also Poe Dameron as the other guy?
Was it?
Yeah, he was in it.
Yeah. I can't remember his name. Oscar Isaac.
Oscar Isaac.
That's the one. Bringing us back to Star Wars again. It's all connected.
But this new one, it looks like they've gone, right, we're sorting this out and it's going to be good and I'm really excited. And there you go.
Yeah.
Listeners, Paul Kelly is doing a lot of hand gestures right now.
Yeah.
I tend to gesticulate when
He's talking more with his body than his voice.
Yeah. One thing that Paul said actually when we were watching the trailer was the naming structure has done the Rambo thing, which I thought was quite good. It's gone to Jason Bourne now.
It was all the books.
Also Rocky. It did the same thing as Rocky.
All the books
and Beyonce's albums
are called like the Bourne Identity, the Bourne Supremacy, the Bourne
Ultimatum.
Robert Ludlum has written like 10 books, and some of them are not about Jason Bourne, but they're all called something like The Butterfly Principle or
The Bourne Prophecy.
Yeah,
because something.
Because like the last one as well, the Bourne Legacy.
Yeah.
Not just Jason Bourne wasn't in it; it didn't even involve any Bourne plot. You saw his name carved on a bed, and I think somebody said.
And it was other people who'd had the same slightly sci-fi training that he'd had, and like genetic modification or pills that they were taking or something like that.
Yeah, it was the same avenue of like Black Ops.
Yeah, it was like
program.
The Bourne program was like James Bond's 00 program. He wasn't the only 00 agent out there.
One thing I would like to add, my favourite bit of that whole trailer is when they go, Jason Bourne, he's back, or something like that, and then they cut to a computer screen, and there's a load of, it's like a folder tree, and there's like clandestine operations, Black Ops.
Special ops.
Don't click here. As if there
Secret
would be
government program. Brackets, do not click.
So you do have to remember, for me, with the Bourne films, you do have to remember that it's a silly film. At the end of the day, it's an enjoyable Hollywood romp.
It's a popcorn film, isn't it? It's a classic.
It's got a little bit more style and nuance about it than, the Jack Reacher or something. But although that Werner Herzog is the buddy, but it doesn't mean it's not going to be thrills and enjoyable. And all the bits when he's like sneaking around and can just disable someone with a, then that's really good.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed that. I think at one point he jumps off a balcony and uses somebody's body that he just beat up to break his fall.
Oh yeah,
in one of the previous films.
Pretty awesome scene.
While shooting a gun with one hand and an upside down gun with the other hand, using his little finger on the trigger because he doesn't have time to turn it over. He just gets back to shooting. That's brilliant.
I like things like that, and I like things like where he beats somebody up with like a rolled up magazine. And like in this one, you see in the trailer, he puts a book against somebody's neck and punches it. Like.
Yeah.
Great.
Also, I think we saw in the trailer he gets into an Indiana Jones style shirtless fight in the desert and ends it by knocking the big guy out with one punch to the jaw.
Yeah.
I like that.
A lot of the fight scenes in Bourne. I saw a documentary about specifically about the Bourne movies and how there's a specific like the Israel army have got this combat style which is very
Krav Maga.
It's what. Thinking does it's very don't need any space. It's very doesn't use economical of your energy, but does the most. It's all about just the most amount of damage.
Yeah, it's like never taking a step back. I think is important. It's like constantly driving forward. Lots of knees and elbows and headbutts and
stuff. There's no fancy arm flailing. It's everything's so economical and efficient that you.
Yeah.
Like you've got a book. What's the best way to disable the person with this book? Put it on the throat
and punch it.
Yeah.
I believe there's I think I'm right in saying that both Batman and Punisher use Krav Maga quite a lot. And Punisher, I saw a panel recently of Punisher in which he beats a guy up using another guy's head. He literally grabs a guy by the back of the head and smashes the front of his head into the front of somebody else's head into a wall. Which is quite cool. That's pure Punisher right there.
What they developed, it's obviously not an original technique, but in the Bourne movies as well, from the second movie onwards, all the fight scenes heavily use shaky cam, where it's just a single camera and a guy's jumping all around the place to try and shoot the footage sort of thing, and it makes the action much more kind of like you're there rather than like a big set piece. It's it's all actually feels like it's not orchestrated and it's all just. Oh right, here's a pen.
Yeah, I like that in the Bourne movies, but I don't like that so much in the Bond movies because
Bond is all about set pieces.
Exactly, Bond
style. And
original Bond was exactly that.
Checking your cuffs after you've
That's why I thought Spectre was maybe the best Bond movie of the new run because it's the most like a Bond movie. It had all the elements that I would have liked to have seen in a Bond. You know. Visiting a foreign country on a special celebration day, wrecking a foreign country's city on their celebration day, fighting a huge guy who's got a small body part covered in metal on a train. That's pure Bond. Wrapping something round his neck so he falls out of the train and says a brief thing before that. That's absolutely pure Bond.
It was like a Looney Tunes moment. I didn't like that.
That was Bond. That was pure Bond. It wasn't. That would have been stupid in a Bourne movie.
It was like when you fall off a cliff and you just hover for a bit, like oh no, and then you fall.
He had metal thumbs. That was. It's Bond. It doesn't have to be gritty and real.
Maybe it was just nail varnish.
Maybe. Point is. That was more Bond than any Bond has been so far. But like the bad guys in Bond are supposed to have ludicrous plots and hollowed out volcanoes, and I liked that.
Obviously, we veered into Bond.
Yes, that's true.
But I will just very quickly say my favourite of all the new Bonds was definitely Casino Royale because it just had the, none of the others have got the with a poker table. I bet 50. All that very
I like that.
And the guy's crying blood, and it's like, is that a sign of weakness? It's just so cheesy and Austin Powersy.
Was also quite Bondy.
Apart from just the hands that they all had in poker, they all had the best hand.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And also they had Phyllis Lane in the background going, by the way, a full house beats a straight.
Thank you, Mr. Exposition. Yeah, and of course in the book they played Baccarat, which nobody in the modern era knows how it works. So they play poker instead, but still had to explain it. Baccarat basically is 21. It's almost blackjack. It's Baccarat, but much less interesting than poker.
Baccarat is I know we're digressing.
We are
digressing. The point of this whole podcast, maybe. But Baccarat is the game in which Phil Ivey, who's the world's current top poker player, was caught cheating for millions and millions of dollars in a casino, and he tried to contest it in court that he wasn't technically cheating. He just found a way to take advantage of the system.
He just played Baccarat really well.
Well, he had his girlfriend there, who they didn't know his girlfriend, who managed to convince them. They had a poor deck of cards where you could you could remember what the cards were by the pattern on the back, because it wasn't totally symmetrical either way.
Yeah.
So she pretended to be superstitious and flirted with the croupier and said, could you rotate that one? And the guy just let her because she wasn't betting much. But then every now and again, Phil Ivey at the other end of the table would bet $1 million and always win.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
To my mind, that is not cheating. That's playing well.
It's not cheating, but even though he's the top poker player in the world and has a lot of money, the casinos have better lawyers. In the interest of the judicial system of Nevada to side with the casino.
Yes. Well, yeah, casinos can kick people out for whatever reason. Yeah, they don't have to say you're counting cards. They can just say, you're winning too much, get out.
They can argue that they should give them the money, and if you're Phil Ivey, you're better at arguing than most people.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Anyway,
so did he end up having to give the money back?
Unfortunately, I say unfortunately, yes, he did.
Yeah.
I don't really care about the millions of dollars of rich people.
Fair point. On that note, possibly let's bring it back to The Force Awakens.
I think so, yeah.
No, we haven't discussed...
we missed the trailer.
The Neon Demon.
The Neon Demon, what a great name for a film.
Yeah, it is a good name. Weird one. What's it about?
It seems to be Black Swan for models instead of ballerinas.
The dark world of high-scale modelling and the mental anguish therein I got from that trailer. Nicholas Winding Refn is really good at tense, awkward, dark, surreal, brooding cinema where intense moments of like extreme action and possibly violence are kind of cut with really so calm it's horrible kind of moments of tranquility where you don't know what's going to happen next. And in other films he's done, such as Only God Forgives and Valhalla Rising and Drive, is really, you watch it and you're on the edge of your seat the whole time. At the end of it, you're just like, oh God, is that over?
That sounds good. It's not my kind of movie, but I'm quite excited to see this one.
Yeah, I'm really excited for it.
So yeah, I think, and it's an Amazon movie, which sounds interesting. So it'll probably be relatively low budget and a bit of a different way of doing movies. It won't be high. It won't be high concept CGI or anything like that. It will just be a.
Well, I mean, you don't need to go for Amazon to look for a non-CGI movie.
No, that's true. But
but if you think of obviously Amazon are one of the world's biggest corporations, but their filmmaking arm, they're going to be acting in the same way as a reasonably independent production company, aren't they? They haven't got the. It doesn't. They can work on a more fringe kind of plot lines and things.
It'll have a certain amount of backing, but it will also have the style of an independent movie potentially. So it could be the best of both worlds. Because I frequently see independent movies and think, if this had a bit more budget, it could have been better. And I frequently see
budget comes with the caveats of you've got to make it more commercial.
Yeah, exactly. Because then you often see big budget movies and think, if only this had a bit less budget, they could have maybe come up with some more clever filmmaking ideas instead of just spending it on X, Y, or Z.
Yeah.
I think maybe the middle ground could be a good way of making movies, and I'm interested to see how Amazon's movie arm does that.
Yeah.
I think that was all the trailers now.
Yeah, that is all the trailers
this
now.
This might be one of the longest trailer breakdowns we've ever done, but let's move on to Star Wars!
Is there anything you guys want to say about Star Wars before we watch it for a third, fourth or fifth time?
I'd like to hear what Paul's been doing over the last couple of years with the Star Wars canon. Tell us.
Well, I recently watched all of Star Wars The Clone Wars, the CGI TV series / movie, and I wasn't expecting much. I thought it would just be for kids when I saw the trailer for the movie, but it's really good, and it fills in a lot of the gaps between episode 2 and 3, and also fills in a lot of the just general, pads out a lot more of the backstory. And I think it's now that Disney have bought Star Wars, I think the expanded universe hierarchy thing has changed a bit. They've changed from canon to non-canon or something.
Oh yeah, most of the expanded universe has now been wiped out of existence.
But I just choose to ignore that fact. And if you watch, so for example,
no, I think Clone Wars is still considered canon by Disney.
Okay,
just all the books basically.
Yeah,
isn't.
I think what it used to be was that there was a hierarchy, and it's if it's in the movie, no, if it's a drawing by a 6-year-old, it's true unless it's contradicted by a webcomic, and that's true unless it's contradicted by a novelisation, and that's true unless it's contradicted by a proper comic, and that's true unless it's contradicted by a cartoon, and that's true, and it keeps on going up. And
I believe the 7 movies are at the top of that, aren't
yeah.
The numeral movies are at the top. Even if they contradict each other.
What I was interested in was, which I've seen them all already, but I rewatched a couple of the ones which are all specifically about where the Force comes from.
Mm-hmm.
And there's an episode arc in season 2 where Anakin and Obi-Wan visit a planet where there's these extremely powerful, these more powerful with the Force than any Jedi, these family, and there's this guy who's like, I've been trying to keep my son and daughter in balance, one's with the Sith, one's with the dark side and one's with the light, but they're just arguing too much, can you sort it out? And if they don't, it'll be the end of the universe. But
because they're so powerful.
But Anakin's like, yeah, it's fine, I'll sort it out, and he kind of does. And then the last 3 episodes of the whole series are Yoda, and he gets in that point in the series, Yoda, they believe in the Jedi believe that there's the cosmic force and the living force, and if you die, you become part of the cosmic force, and there's no way to you lose your identity after death, and there's no way to continue on with your identity after death. But Yoda hears Qui-Gon Jinn, and he tells the Jedi Council, and they're all, that's impossible, you're going mad, and keep him in a hospital, and he escapes and goes to where the Force comes from and learns how to manifest himself after he dies, which is how he can, and he teaches that to Obi-Wan, and that's how...
And Qui-Gon already had worked that out, right?
Qui-Gon had started this training before Yoda, and came to him and said, you need to go to the Dagobah system, because that's like the most pure...
and that's why Yoda lived on Dagobah in the end, because it was a very Force-affinate place.
Yeah, it's really powerful, strong with the Force, and it's really pure in terms, it's just an organic planet, there's no kind of...
life surrounds it, life creates it.
So is that why Luke Skywalker became the best Jedi in about one scene?
Because he was on a planet.
That's not where the Force came from, that's just a super Force-rich place. The Force came... He has to go to this place, and it's this big gas nebula, and doesn't say there's any planet, but he just goes in the bright gas nebula, and there's a planet, and there's these 5 priestesses who are the kind of keepers of the Force, and they put him through all these trials. He thinks he knows everything because he's Yoda and he's all arrogant, and then he realises he knows nothing, and then he sorts it out, and then he can come back from dead.
That's very cool.
It's really, it's all really, that whole...
I'm definitely going to have to check it out.
Watch that whole thing, because it's just great.
I did see the first episode of the Clone Wars, just as a way of seeing if I enjoyed it, and I liked the CGI style. That was really cool. I like voice acting and stuff. The storyline was quite cool, like getting a planet to join with the separatists and stuff.
Kind of,
lots of political stuff.
What amazes me is how they made George Lucas decided to make the prequel movies, and the Clone Wars, clearly got the most potential for exciting movies and
yet they
stuff
didn't
going on.
make a movie about
and they made a movie about a trade dispute.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a kids' movie. And then why is it about a trade dispute?
They made a movie about, we're about to go to war, and then the next movie's, so there was a war.
Yeah, they skipped the war. That was a bit weird. Paul Kelly is making, why the heck did they do that connections? But one thing that I wanted to talk about when I knew we were talking about Star Wars, I want to talk about Yoda. Yoda is strongly connected with the Force, but not necessarily a great lightsaber fighter. And when he trained Luke, he didn't train Luke in lightsaber fighting, he trained him in becoming connected to the Force. And that's interesting about Dagobah being a Force-connected place. But Luke became capable with a lightsaber of fighting Vader, partly because Vader is an old man who's mostly rubbish robot, but also because you get a suitable connection to the Force, your lightsabering skill comes about because you have a better connection with what's going on around you and life and control over your body and everything. Yoda taught Luke control of mind and body, not sword fighting. I'm excited for Luke to teach Rey this in 8, but then we go to the prequels and to that one episode of Clone Wars I saw. Yoda is fighting stuff with a lightsaber and jumping around and hardly actually uses any of the Force.
Yeah.
He just hacks people up with his laser sword.
Well,
seems a bit of a rubbish use of Yoda to me.
It seems to me like Yoda, he's rather than his physical ability, because when he's just hobbling around, he's really hobbling out of breath, hobbling around. It seems like his channeling of the Force is to get a big concentrated ball of energy inside him and just go whee and just
whiz about,
spinning around.
It seems to me though,
the sword fighting goes hand in hand with jumping around like a lunatic.
Well, maybe, but I'm kind of thinking in standard fantasy, wizards, because the Force is basically magic. Wizards can become like capable telepaths, or they can become pyromancers, or they can become something else, but sometimes wizards can gain the ability to leap tall buildings or run incredibly fast, and it makes sense that Obi-Wan became a battle wizard, and it makes sense that Mace Windu became a battle wizard, but to me it doesn't make sense that Yoda channels his magic into moving really fast and being a great fighter. I mean, Qui-Gon wasn't a great fighter.
Like, if the amount of times that Yoda, if you watch the Clone Wars series, Yoda is like a general in the army and he's commanding the troops, but he hardly ever actually gets into a fight because he's just so down with the tactics and with knowing how to progress and everything that he doesn't really get. It's not the other two, Obi-Wan, Anakin, Mace Windu, all those guys. They lead their armies into battle and they're running along with their lightsaber in both hands, ready to kick ass. Whereas Yoda is like, right, you guys, go get him. Yay, I'll just watch.
That certainly brings Yoda a little bit more into what I thought Yoda should be.
But if he does have to fight, he's going to go, right.
He can.
I'm just going to go...
Yeah. So he's kind of the quintessential Jedi. I don't want to fight. Oh, look, a fight started. I've won the fight. He doesn't want to have a fight, but if one starts, he can have... I guess like... what's his name? The guy in Kung Fu spends entire episodes going, I don't want to fight you. Then someone throws a punch at him. He punches the punch out of the air and knocks the guy out. That kind of fits. But I still don't like seeing Yoda leaping about too much. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
It's kind of like what they did with Jeff Winger in the last season of Community. Whenever he tried to have a paintball fight, and he was just like, no, I'm not doing it. And he just like beats them up, grabs people, and shoots them, and then just throws them and the gun out of the room.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not involved in this.
And that is fine in a comedy. But Star Wars is not a comedy.
Well.
But yes, maybe. I'd like to see a Star Wars comedy. I think that would be quite good. But yeah, I had a rant about Yoda, and that's what I wanted to get out of this.
If you've seen the holiday special, the 1979 Star Wars holiday special,
Star Wars can be a comedy, can it?
It's a comedy of errors. It's amazing.
It's not so a comedy on purpose, though, is it? What did you think of Caravan of Courage?
I kind of was watching it quite bored, thinking I better watch this because the reason I watched all of the Clone Wars episodes is because in anticipation for this movie we're about to watch coming out, I set myself the challenge of watching every Star Wars thing there was to watch.
Yeah.
And in order, and that meant that all the Clone Wars they weren't in chronological order for some reason. The first episode should have been episode 23 or something.
What?
Oh no! I hate when they do that.
It's kind of good. It works in terms of it's a bit when Tarantino messes with the chronology of everything, but it works because it's like think of the action and then why they did that sort of thing. But I decided I would. On Wikipedia, there's a list of what order
the
you
order
should
to watch
watch
them. When I watched Battlestar Galactica, the remake rather than the original, there's 4 TV movies and a bunch of internet one-shots and that kind of thing. And you have to watch half of season 4, then a movie, then some internet bits, then another movie, then the rest of season 4. don't watch Battlestar Galactica without that list in front of you.
It's like trying to watch DC TV. You've got Arrow, Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, and Supergirl, which are all sort of, they all converge at different points.
Yes, Marvel
You've got
does
to watch
it
them in
too.
the right order, and like they've got breaks in the TV shows at random places,
Yeah.
and it's the worst.
Avengers 2 and the last few episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
If you watch them out of, well, it doesn't matter what order you watch them in, each one spoils the other one. And in England, we got the stuff that happens in Sokovia, basically. But in England, we got the movie slightly earlier than America.
Yeah.
So we got the movie before the last episode of S.H.I.E.L.D. And so S.H.I.E.L.D. was saying, tomorrow this is going to happen. And we'd already seen it happen.
Yeah.
And it was very odd. I kind of wish they'd put that just, finish the season, then the movie. That would have been
Actually,
good.
to be fair, we are now watching Captain America a week late, so it's not going to be a problem for
So
us.
we'll be up to date. That means I've got to watch about 5 episodes of S.H.I.E.L.D. between now and then.
Anyway, Paul Kelly's just gestured at the computer for me.
One thing before we settle down to watch Star Wars.
Uh-huh.
We've talked about the Clone Wars and all that. The one thing we haven't talked about with regard to Star Wars is Rebels.
How is that?
I watched the first season and a bit of the second season's still going, I think. I've seen a few episodes of the second season. It really is quite good, but it really is so Disney, the cartoon. He looks like Aladdin's big brother, the main guy.
Does it look like they're about to burst into song at any moment?
It's just because the drawing style. It's made by the same, directed by the same guy who directed all the Clone Wars. They've got the same team, but they've changed the drawing style slightly, and all their faces just look not as big and featureless. And it's not as good animation.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing I can say is bad about it. But apparently there's going to be some Darth Vader in it soon. That's really exciting.
As Darth Vader, because it's set between 3 and 4, isn't it, Rebels?
Yeah, it's set.
Yeah.
Is this going to overlap with Rogue One at all?
I wonder.
Oh, that would be weird. I
But
hope
they're
they
not
don't.
made by the same company, so
Maybe they'll start to mesh together.
Well, maybe it'll be that Rebels finishes, the closing episode of Rebels finishes at the start of Rogue One. Which then I assume finishes at the start of A New Hope. So
Yeah. I mean, the Clone Wars was what, 3 seasons?
6.
6 seasons. Okay.
And
I was about to say it's relatively tight and good,
there's about
but 6 is
25
too
episodes.
many.
I watch it though, and it's really kind of, there's like a whole season about General Grievous, and you never don't get enough of him.
In the movies, no.
He was a real guy, but he just
he was a man who got cyborgs, didn't he?
prosthetic surgery for battles he was in, and then just like he's like, I have forearms.
Yeah, and we got a reference in the third one, episode 3. We got a reference to how he'd killed a whole bunch of Jedi, and I remember thinking in the movie, why didn't we see that?
Yeah,
surely that would have been exciting. Like Grievous fighting 5 Jedi at once. That'd be a great scene. Why don't we see it?
He is like a bounty hunter for Jedi, but just for his own amusement, sort of thing. He's works for the Army of the Republic, but he's just really good at fighting. So he's like, I'll see how many lightsabers I can add to my collection.
Yeah, I have seen clips of either Rebels or Clone Wars where there's a guy from Mandalore, one of the same planet as Boba Fett, and he can fight. He fought Darth Maul, who is still alive for some reason. He fights Darth Maul, I believe, with like a vibroblade. I want to say vibroblade.
I think you might be right.
A blade that is made of straight up metal.
With, a big wobbly bit of electricity.
Yes, but it's not a lightsaber. It's an actual solid metal blade, but it can withstand lightsaber strikes. And he fights Darth Maul practically to a draw in a clip I've seen. But he's not a Jedi.
But he might. I don't want to ruin it for you. But he might not be who. He might be someone who's better at fighting than he appears with his mask on.
He's not Boba Fett, is he?
No, he's.
But that is where Boba Fett's from, Mandalore.
Darth Maul's brother.
Oh yes.
In a Mandalore suit.
No, I've definitely seen a bald guy fight Darth Maul without a mask on. Pretty sure that.
Are you sure he's a guy? Might have been Asajj Ventress. She was a Sith apprentice, and they come from.
She's got face tattoos, hasn't she?
She's just got really bony cheeks.
Oh yeah, no, it wasn't her. I might have to look this up, but he fights a Jedi to a draw, and also like Mandalorian armor is partially lightsaber proof and stuff, which is pretty cool. It makes Boba Fett even more scary.
Yeah, and they've got a really good backstory as to why Boba Fett is such an aggro bounty hunter in the first place. And honestly, watch Clone Wars.
I think I'm going to have to.
I'm getting pretty hungry.
Yes. We need one more thing.
Do we?
Actor predictions. I know we've all seen it.
No, it doesn't really work in a film.
Well, I have something I want to say. I saw Sucker Punch a really long time ago, and I remember thinking, this guy is going to be a star somehow. Oscar Isaacs in Sucker Punch was incredible, and I remember thinking, this guy's going to be a star. And going into seeing Force Awakens, I kind of had forgotten about this, but I remember thinking by the end of it, wow, he nailed that.
What blew my mind was at some point this year, 2016, I watched Ex Machina, which came out in 2015. So I saw that after seeing Star Wars, and so I was looking at the character, I was like, oh, he was that guy in Star Wars, Donald Gleeson, yeah, great. And then he is in everything. And I was like, oh, the guy, that's definitely the guy from Drive, isn't it? Definitely the guy from Drive, and they look identical. And it turns out it's Oscar Isaac. Like, he doesn't even look like himself, but he looks like he looks like another one of his characters. It is so weird.
Yeah. So I'm predicting Oscar Isaacs is going to be the best.
He was in the Coen Brothers movie. What's it called? The one about folk music. He starred in that.
Oh, it was Bob Dylan, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was
not Bob Dylan.
It wasn't Bob Dylan, but it was.
Llewellyn.
Yeah.
But inside Llewellyn Davis.
Yes, and wasn't that Oscar Isaacs and Donald Gleeson in that one as well? Wasn't that both?
I don't think Donald Gleeson was in that.
There was somebody else in that who was connected to
He's
Star
really
Wars
good
as
though.
well,
He's
I
in
think.
loads of these things.
Oh, it was Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren was in that one, I think.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, I remember seeing a picture of so it had a caption like, remember when Poe Dameron and Kylo Ren wrote songs together or something? I really like that. We played this game last week with characters from Game of Thrones. We could probably do the same thing with Star Wars. All right, let's make pizza, drink beer, and watch this movie, shall we?
Yeah, finally, Star Wars, Force Awakens. Never seen that before.
Yay!
I'm looking forward to the pizza. Making our own pizzas this time.
Yes.
We'll let you know how it goes.
We'll review the pizza.
Oh, we always do. We've got a good beer as well.
Have you got a pun to stop us from saying "see you on the other side"?
See you on the dark side.
And we're back. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
How did you find it?
That was really, really, really good.
So the fifth time, was it better than watching it the fourth time, or was it about sort of like third time as good?
Well, when I watched it for the first couple of times, they were very close together, and it was more like, oh yeah, I'm watching this again. Well, I remember that from it. And now it's just becoming more of a familiar, like the rest of the Star Wars films. It's becoming part of me.
I kind of like that. Throughout, all three of us were sort of seeing things coming, I think, and joining in with certain lines.
Yeah,
we were talking through most of it. And
because we've seen it a lot.
Yeah, and Paul Kelly did just talk along with it.
Yeah, there were definitely a few air punching moments as well.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I love it.
I remember distinctly slapping my knees when they spot them at Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, yeah. I nearly exploded in the cinema when I saw
So
that.
just remember, we are doing spoiler free first.
Oh,
that's not a spoiler.
That's not a spoiler because that was in the trailer.
Yeah, we all know the Millennium Falcon's good. Come on.
Yes, but we're going spoiler free at first. But I think we can pretty much say that yes, we all enjoyed it. So by our rating system of never watch again, only watch again ironically, or definitely watch again.
And would pay to watch it in the cinema again.
Pay to see it at the cinema again. I think we're all in the would watch again camp.
I'd pay to watch that in the cinema again.
I'd need for years.
And also,
I'd need to not watch it for a long time.
I would, but I think I'd have to wait till I see 7, 8, 9.
To be fair, I reckon when Star Wars 9 happens, some cinemas will do a marathon.
Because
I'll do that.
It's been on in the cinema recently, obviously, and I thought I've seen it enough times now. It's great. I'll just wait to get a copy at home, sort of thing. But then, the moment the opportunity arose to say, "Oh, do you want to go and watch this in the cinema?" I was like, "Yep."
Yeah.
So it just proves I would watch it at the cinema.
That's fair.
Tomorrow if it was on.
Yeah. So I wasn't even planning on watching it twice in the cinema, but then somebody else just said, "Do you want to watch it?" Yep. And then again, somebody else, "Do you want to watch it?" Yes, sure.
You're not going to say no.
I very nearly went to go see it a third time myself. So I was definitely not adverse to it.
God, we are such nerds.
When I watched it the first time, though, it was in the 3D, and I thought it was alright, the 3D. It didn't take anything away from it. It didn't add that much. And then the next times I watched it have not been 3D, and I don't think it's detracted without having the 3D.
Yeah, we watched it 3D IMAX first time.
Yeah, I couldn't even remember if it was 3D or not.
I didn't actually like it. I didn't like the IMAX. It was too big for me. I had to move my head too much.
There was one of my favourite scenes in the whole thing, without saying any spoilers, was that scene between Kylo Ren and Rey. And you have to keep... In the IMAX, I found I had to keep looking sideways. I had to look to the left of the screen. I had to look to the right of the screen to see what was going on.
Yeah.
That's too big.
Yeah.
IMAX screen... Yeah, look, immersion is one thing, but I get immersion in films if it's a good plot and I care about the characters.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get immersion because the screen is bigger than I can fit my eyes on. I think that's a bit more... That's sort of how you're watching it. Doesn't make it a better movie. It's like really good speakers doesn't make a musical album not rubbish if it was rubbish before.
Very true.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, in answer to your rating system, I would pay to watch it at the cinema again.
Because you did repeatedly.
Well, yeah.
And also, I would watch it. I will
Still would.
Number 3 counts as well. I would definitely still watch it again.
That's fair.
And I feel like the more I watch it, the more a few one-liners are coming. Like, obviously, when you watch Star Wars, the old Star Wars and all the ones we know and love, there's a few lines that everyone remembers that have become a bit of catchphrases. And I think that as the next one comes out and everything, there'll be catchphrases from this film that people will be remembering.
I think that's true.
That's
also,
not how the Force works.
So yeah, but some of the catchphrases from originally as well. You know, I have a bad feeling about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, brilliant.
That's not going to happen again. Maybe in the Han Solo spin-off.
Other people other than Han Solo have said that.
Yeah, maybe. Well, fair. Yeah, okay.
Maybe it's just one of those things that in their culture it's just a common phrase.
Yeah. Everyone says it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
True.
Got a bad feeling about this.
Who do you think was the best actor then?
Okay. Actor, I think I would go Daisy Ridley.
You think? I think Daisy Ridley was amazing.
Really, the bits when she's got to, she really creates a whole character. Like there was one bit when you said when she just pulls out the sarcasm, and it's all because of her background where she's just had to struggle as a scavenger and fight anybody, and when there's a bit that Finn attributes to the look, and he's like, "Wow, do you see that?" And she's like, "Yeah, really great. Yeah, that was lucky."
Yeah, she knows that she did it, but doesn't need the credit for it. She's badass and she's capable.
Really,
for me, she was the best character, but she wasn't the best actor. I think Adam Driver was my shout for best actor.
He did a good job.
Either him or Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill didn't really have a big part, but
Mark Hamill does more in the amount of time he has on screen than anybody else does with their time on screen.
Yeah.
He's got a greater density of acting.
Harrison Ford did a really good Han Solo impression.
Yeah, it's nice to see Harrison Ford acting properly again, not just
saying lines,
not just delivering lines and taking a paycheck. And I know Harrison Ford doesn't care that much about the movies he's in. He's a great actor, but it's his job. And when he goes home, he's stopped doing it. He doesn't he's not part of the nerd culture that surrounds him. I thought he did a good job.
I think that what they did with Mark Hamill was the best, because they probably just said, "Right, stand there. Here's your script. Right, memorize it. Okay, don't say anything. Just act what the script says."
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
It was actually
it
was a really funny moment in one of the interviews or press things with Mark Hamill, and he's got someone else stood next to him, and they're asking everyone questions, and they turn to him and say something, and he just stares coldly into the camera and looks really brooding. "Oh, sorry, I thought you were. I thought it was part of the movie again."
I didn't realise I had lines.
Yeah.
That's good. I thought that was good.
Actually, as a second shout for actor, Peter Mayhew, who plays Chewbacca, he's massive. Just because he's got a big furry suit on, he actually has to convey everything he's got to say without actually having dialogue. He's just got to go.
Although,
and all that
jumping in, Peter Mayhew only played Chewbacca when he was sat down.
Really?
Yeah, he he's old, but he also has gigantism.
He might have done the sounds.
He may have done all the sounds.
Well, the sound is like a combination of 8 animals or something.
And Peter Mayhew.
And a typewriter or something like that.
Yeah, but Peter Mayhew is part of that noise. But yeah, he played the sat down one because he walks with a cane now and stuff.
Let's give it a collaborative effort. But when he's got the most emotion when he's angry.
Yeah.
He's just like, oh my god, Chewbacca's angry. Oh. And
yeah.
When he's he's just so kind of emotive, and passionate, and
I agree.
He gives a lot more than a lot of the other.
I tell you what though, for emoting without much to work with, BB-8. Oh, BB-8 is so good because that robot just gives off so much emotion, but doesn't even have a face.
Yeah, done really. We're saying when we're watching the film that as a successor, maybe we don't know to R2D2.
Oh, absolutely.
Not to give any spoilers or anything, but he's there, and they've done a really good job at making it different than R2. But he's got all the cheeky chappy and kind of slightly kind of rebellious spirit of R2-D2, but also got all the tricks up the sleeve.
Yeah, the little lighter that comes out to give the thumbs up is wonderful. Yeah, I mean, for my money, I think BB-8 did a really good job of being the funny bit of this movie. There are other funny lines as well. Poe Dameron's got a few good lines and stuff, but BB-8 is most of the funny.
Really funny.
Finn is funny. But I think something that I was saying this before, Jar Jar Binks just overdoes it. Jar Jar Binks is someone unicycling and juggling flaming fish, and BB-8 is proper Star Wars humour.
Yeah.
Like, Jar Jar Binks is just, everybody look at this thing, this is a funny thing. Did you find it funny? No? Well, here it is again.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, just moments with BB-8 just make you laugh. The opening scene with Poe Dameron really made me laugh as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you talk first? Do I talk first? I like that. I can't tell with the match. I thought that was great.
A healthy lack of respect for authority.
Yeah, that BB-8 was actually voiced by 2 people.
Yes.
Because J.J. Abrams, or Judge Abrams.
Jabrams.
Yeah. It's because he wanted people to be able to impersonate BB-8's noises. And so it's been voiced by Bill Hader and Ben Schwartz. I don't know Bill Hader, but Ben Schwartz was John Ralphio in Parks and Rec.
Okay.
Yeah, so just got 2 great people to actually voice him. And
That's pretty cool.
It's another great way to do it. It leads on to the next point, which is how little CGI, or how correctly the CGI was.
Yes, lots of practical effects. When I saw the trailer for this movie and then I saw some behind the scenes stuff, I remember thinking, Episode 7 is going to do it right, because there's real life things in it.
Yeah, they spent a lot of time and effort and money on making gigantic scale models of
Death
Star
Stars,
Destroyers.
Star Destroyers, not Death Stars. Star Destroyers, yeah.
And I love how that's how her world is scavenging these things, and she knows them inside out. And she's got this innate understanding of technology without actually having to use any of it, because she's taken apart a Star Destroyer.
Yeah.
So.
And the ruins of the old world, I love that. We saw what the old world was.
Yeah, it works well.
But in the previous series of movies, but now we see what it's like in the post-apocalypse almost. And I like that kind of story, especially if it's a world I was already familiar with. I think that's wonderful. I think Mad Max, for instance, is a great film. The originals and the remake, because it's the ruins of the old world, and you see little examples of how things are left over from the previous world, and I think that Rey's world, Rey's world on Jakku is exactly that, and I like it.
Pretty good. Okay, spoiler section, I guess. Spoilers.
Yes, let's.
Spoiler warning from now
spoilers.
onwards. Stop listening if you don't want to know spoilers for Star Wars: Force Awakens.
It
Cool.
did come out a year ago, nearly.
No, it didn't. It came out like 4 months ago.
Half a year.
4 months.
Third of a year.
4 months and 3 days.
Long enough that you probably don't have to worry too much about spoilers, but spoilers after this section, after this sentence.
So.
Okay, so.
Darth Vader, turns out, is Luke's father?
That's spoilers for Empire. That came out 30 years ago.
Cool.
Nearly 40 years ago, actually. So moving on from spoilers for Empire.
The biggest spoiler, the biggest shock, obviously,
Death of Han Solo,
is when Han Solo
dies
at the hands of his own son. son's going, I need help. I know what I need to do, but I don't think I can do it. Can you help? And he's like, yeah, sure.
Yep, stabbed him up. I was gutted.
Yeah.
And so was he.
Yeah, I literally actually forgot that when you said, and so the biggest spoiler, and I was like, Han Solo was his dad?
Yeah. Yes. That was given away early on in the plot.
That wasn't really a spoiler so much, it was just sort of, we have to make everybody family.
Yeah, that's true. I'm slightly worried that they're gonna force Rey into being somebody important, and I think that I would rather see her just be someone, be no one. In fact, not be someone's daughter or anything.
I think they took quite a lot on board of the 90s fan fiction community, and there were novels written and there were comics and all that written about what after Return of the Jedi. And they roughly said, I don't remember it accurately at all, but I think they roughly said that Luke started training a new generation of Jedis, and Han and Leia's son became part of that academy, and he went bad, and that's kind of what it's all gone there from. But I don't know where Rey comes into it.
Well, I've heard a lot of theories. I've heard Rey is a Kenobi. That's an interesting idea. I've heard Rey is Luke's daughter, which is an interesting idea. I think that she's no one in particular, but I think Luke knew her, because this is my theory, that Luke set up the academy, but knew, or at least suspected, that something would go wrong. He didn't know that Kylo Ren would betray him and kill everybody, but he figured, what if something goes wrong? So he set up a backup plan. Maybe half a dozen Force-sensitive people hidden around the world. Rey is one of them. And then when things did go wrong, he went and hid until one of them comes of age and finds their way back to
She doesn't even know he exists, she just thinks he's a myth. So
I think he could have done it without their knowledge. What if he...
Well, I
don't think he's wiped her mind. I think
one thing that's quite important in the whole scheme of things is we don't know where Jakku is in terms of, like, politically. Like, we don't know what kind of... She's a scavenger on a place where there's obviously been a massive battle overhead, or something's gone on overhead, because there's Star Destroyers knocking about all over the place.
That's true.
And
AT-ATs, so there was definitely a ground assault as well.
Isn't they voted Tory?
But you get the impression that something happened there, and that so we don't see who it is, but we see her going, don't go away, and Onkar Pless, or whatever he's called, taking her away, going, she's mine now, have 2 portions.
Yeah, 2 portions.
I think people that left her were her parents, and her parents were friends or students of Luke's.
Yeah.
Not the Republic of Luke's. So,
they were maybe...
That goes with Ross's theory, and I think it just sort of like fills the hole in your theory, really.
Yeah, that's fair. I like the idea that she... Certainly the part of my idea where she's left there as like a sleeper agent, I think is kind of cool. I hope that's the true bit.
Doesn't sit right with me is that this on-car plate guy's a douchebag, and just like has the Millennium Falcon, doesn't know how ace it is, and has installed loads of
stupid stuff into it.
I don't know, boom boxes or whatever, and he's got the windows tinted and got a spoiler on it and stuff. But like, he's obviously like, she's not aware of his significance, and she's just some scavenger who goes up and he's just really kind of mean with her and says, well, 2 quarter portions. Well, and it's not like she's been left in the care
of somebody useful.
I mean,
maybe that's Max von Sydow's character, whose job was to keep an eye on her.
Okay.
Yeah, but maybe it's a slave village, and he's just the slaver of that village.
And she's
a strong, independent woman who don't need no man. She goes around finding her own stuff, living on. She's not captive by any means.
No, that seems to be the case.
She's just living the life of extreme poverty, where she just finds loads of stuff and tries to sell it, and it devalues amazingly quickly, because she's like, these were worth the whole thing each yesterday, and now you give me a quarter of portion for 5. Wait a minute.
Yeah, I think it is going to be an interesting one. I hope it doesn't turn out that she's Luke's daughter. Moving on. I kind of hope that doesn't happen. I think her just being somebody, like maybe her parents are literally nobody, They're just a couple of completely rubbish people who couldn't be asked raising their daughter, so dumped her on the last toilet they could find, and then left. And she believes they're coming back for her because she's idealistic and naive.
And maybe
that would be the only.
If you watch the original trilogy, and also in episode 1, Qui-Gon's like, I believe that we were meant to find this boy, and the Force has led us in this direction.
Force and fate.
And so maybe she's, she could have been anywhere. It doesn't matter because
the Force has found her.
The Force has found her and brought her. Yeah.
I really hope that she wasn't dumped there by Luke because she's Luke's daughter.
One interesting fact is that the next movie is going to be directed by Rian Johnson, who directed Brick, which I don't know if you've seen.
I love Brick. I have seen that. It's good.
Looper, and both of which are really good. And part of the thing that makes them good is
they've got Joseph Gordon-Levitt in them.
Complicated, convoluted storylines that just are so good because it's not like a film that's got so much going on. It's confusing and rubbish. It works. He's really good at making all the bits.
Yeah, he'll pull things together.
He can write a good story.
This is something
and it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be. It's going to be different than what Abrams has done.
Yeah. Well, I found that Abrams' mystery box that he's constantly going on about, I don't think it's worked here. I think Empire was great when we found out that Vader was Luke's father, because we didn't know that there was a mystery to be solved. We weren't thinking, ooh, I wonder who's Luke's father. In this case, we're told that Rey's parentage is an important thing. Ooh, I wonder who it is. Yeah. And we've got this mystery box floating in front of us that JJ's put there. And I don't like that. It's kind of annoying.
I know, but the thing is as well, we've got 6 other Star Wars movies with all the same tricks of the trade. We know what to look for. People watch this film and they're like, right, so what's this? Where's this bit going to come in?
That's fair.
We are trained Star Wars watchers
to look for this guy. To watch for interconnected. I mean, that's why I'm like Max von Sydow's character isn't just some guy. He's not some treasure hunter who found this map. He's a new Leia from before she was a general and
clearly mates with the Republic, or at least the Jedi. And but why is he just there? And why is he just so not asked about fighting and running away? He's like, I'm gonna die now.
Yeah, he's a bit sort of Jedi Obi-Wan cool, isn't he? Yeah. I do think that, speaking of Obi-Wan, I think Han Solo was the Obi-Wan in this movie, which I quite liked. Quite like the Obi-Wan being Han Solo. The older guy who's seen the galaxy a bit more than everybody else.
Han Solo has changed in the sense that as well, one of the first things he says is that I used to think this Force was a load of mumbo-jumbo, but it's true. He's like, actually... They changed him from being a runaway, wild smuggler who doesn't believe in any of this hocus pocus. They've actually got his own head.
He's seen it. He fought for Star Wars, He was in those wars in the Star. Anyway, speaking of Star Wars, right, okay. Lowercase s, lowercase w. It's Ross's science bit. Why is the Hosnian system...
You can't just create your own...
Shut up. Why is the Hosnian system resolved as separate planets from Maz Kanata's planet? If they're looking into space, that you see the Hosnian system destroy 4 or 5 planets, they shouldn't be resolved as separate explosions. If they're in a different system, they must be pinpricks.
Unless they're in the same system.
Well, in which case...
Just didn't get that.
But Maz Kanata's planet is not in the Hosnian system. I can't remember the name of the planet that is, but it's not in the Hosnian system. And they said they destroyed the whole Hosnian system. So they destroyed an entire system, which apparently they couldn't see. Also,
and why?
While we're on the subject of...
Was that just an example of their awesome powers?
Well, no, they wrecked the seat of the new Senate.
Oh, was that where the...
That was where the new Coruscant was.
The Republic was.
Yeah, right. That was the Republic seat. We saw brief flashes of at least one of the planets.
Because there's that woman who...
Was in all of the little scenes.
Yeah, she had so many... She was like supposed to be Leia's apprentice or something like that. Leia's
PA.
Aide. PA, yeah. But the other science question, how come the Starkiller base has to absorb an entire star and yet somehow when it explodes only releases a much smaller star. But I think we were talking about this in the movie. I think it kind of makes sense because they don't absorb the whole lifetime energy output of a star, but only a temporary chunk of the star's output. And whatever they store it as, they could store it as some sort of black hole or whatever. And then the thermal regulator gives up and it turns back into another star. But it turns into a star the size of our moon, approximately. That's not sustainable, but that's okay, because maybe 10 seconds after we stop looking at it, it burns itself out.
I doubt that was the case. I doubt that was what J.J. Abrams
That's the only way it would make any sense.
The thing that bothers me is...
A star the size of the moon can't last.
If by sucking all the energy, that's the star gone, then how does Starkiller Base get around?
Starkiller Base has engines.
Does it?
It doesn't appear in the movie.
Oh.
Apparently, it's explained in the novelisation,
which
is not ideal.
No, I don't like that.
But
I'll accept it.
Let's be fair, someone watching this movie who's not us might totally be willing to say, I don't care, or not notice.
Yeah, but this is Star Wars. It's like the height of nerdy film.
True. And nerds like to look up the size of these devices and what kind of energy they have and what kind of star system they are in and what kind of energy type they use.
Big thick books that are called Star Wars, the blueprints.
Exactly.
They have the schematics of all of the ships and the Death Star.
Yeah.
But I think in this instance, J.J. Abrams, and he sat down his board of writers and was like, okay, this is purely a cheeky wink and homage to the Death Star, just so that we can get the bit in where Han Solo goes, so right, how are we going to blow it up? There's usually a way to blow these things up. And then Finn goes, oh yeah, there's that vent thing. Alright, great, go.
Is it 2 meters across? Brilliant. Yeah, I think that's right. We're overthinking it. But overthinking things is what we do here.
Yeah. I think that...
in nerd culture and in this podcast.
I think that Rogue One is going to be... is going to sort of fill that, because normally it is just such a simple solution. Just like, shoot through this hole, or just blow up this tiny little bit, and then that'll do it. But with Rogue One, I think it's going to have to be a lot more, right, okay, so you need to actually infiltrate and get in and like pretend to do all this stuff, and you got a whole team, they're all doing different things.
Yeah, I'm excited by that.
And
I think that's going to be good.
Yeah. And that might have quite a big influence on... probably not Star Wars 8, but Star Wars 9 might change a little bit for it, and
depending on how it's received by the public.
And there's going to be more Star Wars films after Episode 9, so they might.
I would be interested in like every 10 years or something, every 15 years, having 3 movies separated by a year and a half each or what have you. Then give us 10, 15 years off, and then have 3 more. I think that could work. I think, and in between do some anthologies. I don't think I want to see 7, 8, 9, and then a year later 10, and then a year later 11. I don't think that. I think that's too much. We'll get saturated.
Market forces dictate what movies are made.
Yeah,
I don't think it
depends what's
true.
It depends what happens with the market, and also what happens with actual Disney as a company. Because at the moment, they're not doing that well.
Which is weird because they've got all the best properties in the world.
Yeah, because they've got everything which is associated with Disney and Pixar. They've also got Marvel Studios, which is the Avengers, but not things like X-Men.
Lucasfilm. And
they've got Lucasfilm, so they've got all these things making loads of money, but they have made a lot of acquisitions recently. Star Wars cost $4 billion and has made around $1.5 billion in profit, I think.
Yes, but
still a good choice. I mean,
it's a good purchase. If I had £4 billion lying around, I'd have bought Star Wars.
Well, yeah, they'll make their money back, but for the moment, they're $3.5 billion down, $2.5 billion down.
That's true. Apparently, Disney has the largest fleet in the world, if you count the number of ships.
Naval fleet. Yeah.
It's got more ships than any country, because they got more boats, basically, than anyone else.
That's really cool.
The largest fleet in the world. I think that's interesting.
Disney, the ultimate superpower.
Well, I don't think any of their boats are armed.
They've got an armed force.
Castles all over the world.
They've got Epcot is like the ultimate supervillain hideout.
That's a good point.
Researching.
It's actually got its own Death Star.
Yeah.
Wow. Brilliant.
So that's that.
Starkiller Base does fly around though. It's got engines.
Yeah.
It can move from I mean, it destroyed a star early on in the movie to destroy the Hosnian system, and then it destroyed another star.
Yeah, you're right.
In the second half of the movie, that must have been a different star. This is something that bugs me a lot though. Galactic level geography. Because at one point, I believe the worst example of this was in the Green Lantern movie, in which, I know, not a great movie, but one of the most egregious things for me was they talked about a galactic sector being a section of a galaxy that was controlled by one Green Lantern, and then later on, for some reason, they're flying from one galaxy to another galaxy. Like hundreds of Green Lanterns are flying at the parallax thing that's trying to absorb a whole galaxy all at once. If there's a Green Lantern for every section of each galaxy, how come there aren't Green Lanterns in that galaxy? And then later on they refer to a galaxy as being... later on they refer to one Green Lantern being in charge of 50 galaxies, which includes the Milky Way. Like, look, a Green Lantern's in charge of sections of galaxies or groups of galaxies. Can you please make your mind up? Are these guys flying galaxy to galaxy, or are they flying planet to planet? Because that's really important. Solar systems are small. Galaxies are big. Intergalactic clusters are bigger than that.
But even so, solar systems are phenomenally far away, and for the Starkiller Base to travel from one solar system to another, which I assumed it would have to do.
Hyperspace engines. Doesn't take long.
Planet?
The Death Star had a hyperspace engine.
Did it? Good to know.
Also,
set your calls for Alderaan. Over there, great.
Exactly.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Peter Cushing, excellent actor in that role. Very, very good.
Yeah.
Did you know that Peter Cushing's costume boots were incredibly uncomfortable? So anytime you see him on screen, he's almost certainly wearing slippers. Peter Cushing wears slippers for the entire movie.
Do you know the totally un-sci-fi related at all, but for the Man with No Name trilogy with Sergio Leone and Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, the spaghetti western.
Yeah. Clint Eastwood is an avid non-smoker, and he smoked those
1,000 cigars.
horrible brown paper cigarettes that he really didn't like, specifically so he could get the grimace. So when he zoomed in his face, he's going...
that's brilliant.
And he's got shifty eyes and he's rolling
because he just really hates the cigarette.
He's rolling around his mouth and like changing from one side to the other.
Oh yeah, and the music always goes... Whenever he moves the cigar from one side of his mouth to the other, it goes...
Not to be hard and cool, it's just because he's like, oh, this is horrible.
That's brilliant, I love that.
The method acting at his best.
Roger Moore, terrified of guns. He did 5 James Bond movies, I think. Was it 5 James Bond movies? Terrified of guns.
Whenever you watch, they tried to this pen is a...
Now, occasionally you see him fire a gun and then just sort of jump back from it. Like he fires the gun and then his whole face just crunches up because he can't keep his eyes on the target and stuff. Brilliant. Although, apparently, back to Clint Eastwood. Clint Eastwood was trained by the guy who trained everybody in Hollywood to fire guns. Clint Eastwood is the only person he'd ever trained who didn't shut his eyes when he pulled the trigger.
Oh, wow.
So Clint Eastwood can't smoke cigarettes, but he's pretty hard. Shoots guns like a pro.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything more either of you guys got to say on Star Wars?
I named my car Daisy after Daisy Ridley.
Cool, so Ross likes Star Wars.
I've got a car which is basically Stormtrooper coloured, and I bought it just after I saw Force Awakens.
Do you mean white?
White with black trim. And I named it Daisy. And when I was in Ireland earlier this year, we rented a car which we named Finn for the course of the week.
Brilliant.
It was great.
So, Paul Kelly, after watching this, would you say that you like Star Wars?
Oh, I love Star Wars, it's great. I'm wearing a Star Wars t-shirt right now.
Oh, good.
He is as well.
Sainsbury's for £4.
Yeah, I'd say...
Other t-shirts are available.
Other supermarkets too.
I would say everyone should watch the Star Wars film that's just come out.
Yeah.
And as I was saying to you two earlier, in an effort to catch up with Star Wars, I watched the last few episodes of Star Wars The Clone Wars, the animated series, and everyone should watch that because it's really good, and no one knows about it because they all go, oh, it's a kids' cartoon. Well, actually, it's really good.
Okay.
I got
That's
excited
my
for that.
top tip.
Talking before, I think I'm excited to watch that, so I'm going to give that a go.
And it's all on Netflix, I think.
Yeah, excellent.
Other streaming sites are over. Actually, we're not the BBC. You can say watch Netflix. It's great.
We can say what we like, yeah. Until we get sponsored by someone who asks us not to talk about other people, we can talk about whoever we want.
Cool. So I think that's the end of the podcast, really.
Yeah, that wraps us up.
While we've been recording, a new trailer for Independence Day has come out. Do you guys care?
No.
I'm really not that bothered by Independence Day.
Alright then, I'll close the iPad.
Yeah. Unnecessary sequel.
Unnecessary sequel, big time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although Independence Day, film of its time, just like Avatar, film of its time, just like Star Wars, film of its time. It came out, did loads. Independence Day was the first one that had like city destruction and just like all around destruction, and now every film does.
That's true.
And then Avatar came and like 3D, this is how you do it, and now everything's 3D. Well, not everything, but you know.
Everything's got a 3D version these days. Almost everything's got a 3D version.
Yeah. All the blockbusters, we'll say. All the blockbusters do this thing.
That's true.
So, Star Wars, done.
Yep. Thank you very much for listening.
So, what are we watching next week, Ross? Do you remember?
I think we're going to go with Hail Caesar, aren't we?
Yeah, that's good. That was a
I'm intrigued.
recommendation from Paul Kelly.
Yep.
If
you, however, if we get a listener request for something other than Hail Caesar, we might go with that. So send us a request if you think there's something else we should watch before Hail Caesar.
We've had requests. I just forgot to look before we talked
fair.
about Hail Caesar.
Well, we'll have a look at the requests and we might go for something different. But Hail Caesar seems to be at the top of the bill so far, which will lead us into 2 Scarlett Johansson movies in a row.
Well, yeah, I suppose it will.
Because after that, the week after next week, it's the Ultimate Marvel podcast.
We are going to do a double episode. In the first episode, we're going to watch all 12 Marvel movies. Don't worry, we'll keep the episode to like around an hour-ish. And then after that, we will do a review of Captain America Civil War.
I'm so excited. But next week, Hail Caesar.
Next week, Hail Caesar. Although Captain America is coming out next week, we're going to do it a week late because
we have a weekend free.
Yeah.
Did I see a thing recently about... there's been a lot of hoo-ha about Scarlett Johansson. They're trying to CGI...
Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah, she's in Ghost in the Shell. And they're trying to make her look more Asian.
They're not. They were thinking about it. They tried it.
So they did that as a test.
They put Scarlett Johansson in a role that, in the comics of this role, is played by an Asian lady. In the comics, it's played by whatever.
It's an Asian character.
And so one thing they tried to do was, like how they de-age people using CGI. They tried to use CGI to make her look Asian.
Like in Cloud Atlas.
Like in Cloud Atlas.
That's different.
That is different.
Because that was the same characters.
Yeah.
Yes.
Use 6 different.
It's not the same.
Actors,
it's not the same. But it's the same technique.
That one looks terrible, but justified it.
Except it's a terrible movie.
I think whitewashing is a
problem.
A bad thing and a problem.
But it didn't really apply for Cloud Atlas.
Yeah, it wasn't the.
I agree. But Scarlett Johansson, Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah, and so they tried out using CGI to make her look Asian, and the filmmakers decided it didn't look good, and so decided to just leave it as plain Scarlett Johansson.
I think if they'd gone for that
publicity kind of generation.
I think if they'd done that, it would have been worse.
Yeah.
However, Max Landis, I believe, put up a video on the subject of this, and I think he's right. What he says basically is, you're right to be angry about this instance of what you might call whitewashing, but you're not angry at the right people. It's not the makers of Ghost in the Shell who are wrong here, because they need a bankable actress to play the main role. And at the moment, there aren't any Asian descent bankable actresses. And that is
But there probably are.
There might be, but
they're not.
I can't think of any, and neither could the filmmakers. And neither could the studio bosses. So the problem is somewhere earlier on in the movie and TV and film industry, because they're not giving people of Asian descent a chance.
To break, yeah.
They're not giving them the early role in small movies, or in sitcoms, or in TV shows, or on Netflix.
Yeah, the parts aren't being written
exactly
on a multicultural platform.
Yeah, you can't. If you are an Asian actress, it's harder to get in, and therefore harder to build yourself up to Scarlett Johansson level. So the problem is a lot deeper than just these guys should have put an Asian actress forward. It's why isn't there more roles for these people?
But we live in a global world now. That doesn't make sense. But what I mean
we do live in a global world.
What I mean is, we're not shut off from what's going on in other countries, and other countries have thriving film industries, so Japan and South Korea and
so
China,
why can't we share better?
They've got amazing actresses who would do just as well, and they can speak flawless English and do American accents and
Why
What
aren't
do
we
you need them
using?
to do?
But why don't we know any of those people? I would love to be more multicultural, but I literally don't know the name of any famous Asian actress as famous as Scarlett Johansson.
But it doesn't matter how famous they are. Surely it just matters how. Look at who. Had you heard of Daisy Ridley before you watched?
No, I haven't. But
But Star Wars was famous for other
The
reasons.
big thing she
this,
was.
this film, Ghost in a Shell, is only famous for a lot of people because Scarlett Johansson's in it.
that's true.
Really?
Star Wars is Star Wars.
If it has no other big actors, and I've never heard of the film,
Yeah.
then why would I watch it? But Scarlett Johansson, I've heard of her, I like her.
Yeah.
I'll go watch it.
I think you're right, Paul, that the studio aren't exactly behaving perfectly here, but the studio bosses believe that they need someone like Scarlett Johansson, and the studio bosses aren't going to greenlight a movie without a famous person in it, and they don't consider anyone who is Asian to be a big enough name at the moment, so they pick Scarlett Johansson. And I like Scarlett Johansson. I think she's great, but I don't go to see movies because it's got an actress in it. I go see movies because it's part of a world I want to see, or sometimes for a director, but not usually for an actor. But the studio bosses who greenlit this program said they needed someone like Scarlett Johansson. They needed some star power, and she is in 2 of the top 10 grossing movies of all time. So she is pretty bankable. It's entirely possible that those 2 made her bankable, but maybe she also. It's Avengers 1 and Avengers 2, by the way. That it's maybe they made her bankable, or maybe she was part of why they were so bankable. But either way, she's one of the biggest actresses in the world at the moment.
Yeah.
For whatever reasons.
Yeah, you're right.
And these studio guys think that's important enough to
Well,
put her in a role that was originally Asian.
Market forces, yeah, again, it's literally just about how much money they think they will make.
So maybe
How much
instead
money they
of
have to spend to make that much money.
maybe next week, instead of watching Hail Caesar, we should watch a film which it has come out of Japan or China in the last few years, maybe. Or
I could recommend a few to you, not off the top of my head, but I know this.
maybe that's what we need to do. We need to look for more international film.
Okay, well let's do that. Let's put Hail Caesar for some other time, and we'll watch something that we've never heard of before. Potentially recommended by Paul Kelly. Potentially recommended by one of our other listeners.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We started this podcast partly to learn more about films, at least I did, and I would like to see some international films. Let's not say specifically from Asia, let's say an international film of some kind.
Yeah.
And let's learn about something.
Yeah, so...
Not that we believe we can fix racism, but let's learn more about it.
Yeah, get us on Facebook or Twitter. Facebook at beerpizzaandamovie, Twitter at beerpizzamovie. Sorry, I couldn't get the same...
Oh, we didn't review the pizzas or the beer.
Oh, God, we didn't, did we?
Very briefly, we made our own pizzas. They were delicious. They were easily the best pizzas we've eaten on the podcast so far.
I agree, although mine was a bit soggy. I had too many wet vegetables.
Too many wet vegetables.
That's
right.
not a euphemism.
Not you.
What do you think of the beer?
I thought the beer was excellent.
Yeah.
We had picked a Saltaire Blonde from the Saltaire Brewery, which is one of the breweries that is closest to us. It's a classic piece of Yorkshire brewing history, right there on the edge of the Yorkshire Dales, and it is a lovely bit of a lovely brewery. I actually I did part of my teacher training in a school just down the road from this brewery, and we enjoyed a Saltaire Blonde. Highly recommend any of their Cascade varieties as well.
Paul Kelly's only halfway through here.
The Saltaire Blonde is a delicious golden ale, very, very good. So yes, one of the best we've had so far. I feel.
I love that beer. I've had it many times. I just wasn't in a beer mood. I just had a couple of sips and thought, yeah, it's alright, but not for me right now.
I've got to drive home, so I can't. I'm not going to finish that.
I am home, so I may finish it.
Harry's going to finish that beer.
Cool.
So anyway, thanks for listening.
Yeah, let's wrap this up. I've been holding in a sneeze for like half an hour. Thank you, everybody. Wow,
Thanks for having me.
I'm not going to wrap it up.
Yeah, thank you for coming, Paul. It was very enjoyable having you along. Do you have anywhere on the internet where people can find you and your stuff?
Oh yeah.
Twitter.com/@PK_1. I'll usually be making funny observations about the snooker, or just in laughing at the people in general.
I could do a funny observation about snooker. I started dating a snooker commentator, but it's never going to work out because I'm an Aquarius and he's John Virgo. Thank you.
Well, I'm clearly too young for that. So, Well, hopefully you'll hear us all next week, where we will be watching some kind of mystery movie, which we don't know.
Yep. Mystery movie.
Yeah. Throw us recommendations. Really want to hear them. Throw us feedback. Whatever.
Talk to us using the internet.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody.
Facebook at Beer Pizza and a Movie. Twitter, Beer Pizza Movie. See you there.
Bye.
Bye.